I should exercise more. Hey guys, who likes video game music? Only the front row. Cool. All right, guys, we have a wonderful panel going on here today. I've got these four awesome guys who are going to answer a lot of your questions. I'm going to walk around with this microphone. So whenever you're like, you guys can have a seat. I'm seriously out of breath. Smooth McGroove, good to have you here. Welcome back.
It's good to be here.
Yeah. DBOYD, Alex Faciane.
Hello.
This guy.
I'm the other one.
The other one. That's his official stage name. Well, guys, welcome. How's been your Super BitCon so far?
Loving it.
It's been pretty rad.
Good. Dope.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
Dope.
Having a dope time.
Dope time.
Super dope.
All
Super
right.
fresh.
Yeah, it's the freshest show in town, I
It's
hear.
mad sick.
We have people at the
It's twisted.
merch table with Febreze to keep it fresh.
It's a radical.
Yeah.
That was a joke. Ouch. But they actually do have Febreze, I'm not lying.
Great.
Okay, guys, so what do you say we throw it up for some questions? Is there any information you want them to know about right now?
Yeah, I thought maybe we should just do like just a quick introduction, just so you
Sure.
guys know what like
Who you're talking to.
who you're talking to and why we're here and whatnot. This is the music of gaming panel, right? So I'm Alex. The reason I'm on this panel is because I made a video game villain boy band album called Big Bad Bosses, Power Overwhelming,
Pick it up. It's really good.
with the Completionist, Satchel, Drakes, Nate Wants to Battle, and Jake Kaufman, the composer of Shovel Knight. So that's why I'm here.
Shout outs to Jake.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, for real. My name's Michael Blanton. I go by Metroid Mike. I'm a chiptune artist out of Tulsa. I'm here because I make literal video game music. I base all my stuff out of like lo-fi 8-bit, and I spend way too much time trying to see how crunchy I can make video game music. It's a lot of fun, and then...
Hi, everyone. My name is Nathan Reed from here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I write chiptunes under the name Don't Blink or You'll Die. And as an
DBOYD.
As an acronym,
DBOYD.
it's DBOYD. I've
Serious
been
business.
kind of writing chiptunes since about 2012 or 2013, and it's been a lot of fun. If I had to describe my music, I would describe it as hypecore. So hypecore or like thrashy pop. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I'm Smooth McGroove, and I make video game acapellas
With his mouth.
with my mouth.
I would also like to point out that both Metroid Mike and DBOYD perform using Game Boys.
Yes.
Yes.
It's
That's
kind of
legit.
wild if
That
you
is
haven't
true.
seen their show.
Yeah. It's serious stuff.
I usually throw my neck out a lot, and that's really bad. But I actually didn't do that this last time I played, so that was
Yeah.
nice.
Mine's my back. I like to see where if I can bend my spine at a 90-degree angle where it shouldn't, and then like dance that way like a rag doll.
I've never done that before.
It's super fun.
Sick.
Just, you gotta stretch.
I got to get into yoga, hot yoga. I'm from LA. It should be easy.
So you guys come from a bit of a different music background, the four of you. I was talking to Metroid Mike before the panel, and he was saying he's recently gotten into this in the past, 2 years?
I actually, fun fact, I watched Nathan play at the first Super BitCon was I think the first time I actually saw you play.
Yeah.
And we've been friends for a long time. I saw it, and it was one of those things of I've been in music my entire life, and so I saw that, and was just like, I have to do this. This is the real deal. And he showed me like the real basics of how it worked, and then didn't send me the manual of how it worked, so I figured it out as I was going. And like 2 years of like really taking the time to like sit down and learn it, get really mad, stop for a week, get back into it, get really mad, cry in the dark, play some more. And then I've been performing for what, like a month and a half now? Like,
Yeah.
it's real quick, but like
I
I
think so.
when it was a light clicked on, and it was just like I wrote my entire set in like 2 weeks.
See, that's a different part of the world as far as performing, because you make live music, whereas Smooth, your stuff is primarily studio. Have you ever done live performance? I guess you can't. There's not 9 of you.
Well, I relate to what he's saying because I started off doing original music, and I totally relate to, you get pumped for like a day or two, creativity's flowing, and then you get mad for a week because you're just like, I suck.
Because that's what I did was like that's what I got my degree in was like jazz bass over at UCO.
Oh,
Whoa.
see, I was up at UCO as well. I was a drummer. Oh. And that was my whole thing. As drums paid for my school, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do
We
what
never
I want.
broke down. Like, why don't we bro down?
We should do it.
You okay?
Let's do it right
I'm
now. We've got
actually-
your instruments
I
backstage.
scored a phone number on this panel.
I'm actually kind of excited because I had no idea we even had like chiptune dudes here in Oklahoma. And then
This
I
is
saw, like,
literally it. Like, you're looking at
I was like, oh,
D2.
here they are, right here.
This is what you get.
As far as I know, yeah, this is pretty much. It's
This is
just
a whole scene.
us.
right here.
Tulsa, OKC,
Got the grounds covered.
and growing.
It's Dogtown and the
Soon to
Z-Boys.
be.
So what's the biggest hurdle for you guys as performers? Is it the technology with your chip tunes? Is it trying to come up with something new?
That's definitely mine. Is fun fact, I'm a really crappy melody writer. I think that's because I spent all my time in bass and drums. So when I'm writing a melody, I'm like, oh, there's high notes that make pretty sounds. And so I'll have I'll make like a stanza of melodies and just have them there, and then do something weird with bass and drums to make it sound more interesting. And then Nathan's the other way. Nathan's will write like a mile of melodies and then write like super cool dancey drums and bass lines over it, and it always sounds so much better. And I get super mad jealous, but it's great. His shows hype me up so much. I'm way too big to, but I could do a backflip if I'm at his shows. It's great.
Oh, come on. You got to try one.
No.
Not today. No, it's all right. We won't force it.
Nathan's not playing right now.
Should do a backflip.
We'll have to close down the convention.
I would pay to see you do a backflip. on the show.
But technology is definitely a thing. Like working with Crashes, we're working with technology from 1980-ish. Ish.
Yeah.
What was the actual date?
No, it's legitimate. I was talking to him a while ago.
89,
Since 89, yeah.
So it's you deal with hey, I need this instrument. Too bad it's full of corrosion and bugs.
Right. There's always as chiptune artists, there's always, especially working with Little Sound DJ on a flash cartridge, there's always that chance that you're playing your song in the middle of your set and then the cartridge can just crap out on you.
Yeah.
Just like when you're playing Pokemon or whatever.
Yeah. It's exactly the same idea.
That's the fun thing.
Thankfully, that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. The first, on my SoundCloud, I have a song that I don't play anymore because it was on my first cartridge, and I had the cartridge for 2 months, and it just died. I lost an entire 6
Always
months
back
worth
up
of
your
music,
saves.
just gone.
Always back up your files.
Yeah, I didn't
Very
have a
important.
computer to do that.
I know.
So, as far as creative droughts, Smooth, I don't want to call you out, but you recently posted some videos about the gap in your new videos. How things been going?
Good. I mean, it relates to kind of what he was talking about earlier about how you get creative and then you take a period of literal darkness of no creativity, and you're just I'm just gonna live life and not worry about this. And that's
Brahms for 6 hours.
Yeah, exactly. It happens to everyone, and I think it's a natural progression. And through those type of times when you aren't being creative, sometimes that's whenever what I think the subconscious is working itself out.
Yeah.
Where your conscious mind is oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to create. But at the same time, the part of our mind that we really don't have a whole lot of control over, that's doing its stuff as well. And I think for me in the past, and even before Smooth McGroove was a thing, when I would write music and I would have those periods of doing nothing, it's your brain, your mind, or whatever, it works stuff out that needs to work out.
Yeah.
And I think for me with Smooth McGroove, because I put myself on such a schedule, weekly videos, no matter what, that was kind of my motivating factor.
Yeah.
It's super motivating to be on a schedule as a musician. It's okay, I'm going to do this.
Gotta
and then,
get it
next
done.
week I'm going to do it again. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
definitely.
feels good.
It
But
does.
after a while, it's sometimes the irrational part of your psyche is no, you got to take a break. You got to do something else.
Sure, yeah, you're human.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because
you need to
eventually
take
it's
those
all
breaks.
even though it's all different, you're I wrote that already. It's
Yeah.
no, I didn't. It's a new thing, but it's no, that sounded the same, stupid. Stop
Exactly.
it. Be better. It's
Yeah.
a constant thing. You're your own worst critic all the time.
Yeah.
So is it more of a deadline motivation or is it a creative motivation? Alex, I want to aim this question to you specifically.
Well, for us, it was super stressful, right? Because, it's you hear about live bands versus studio bands. You know what I mean? And if you've heard the Big Bad Bosses record, it's a very produced, it's a throwback to the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC sort of styles.
Super good.
Yeah, and it just has it's very much halfway based on our performances and whatnot, but also, there's a huge amount of just like tracking and like mixing and figuring out like what effect's going to sound good and like how to EQ these tracks to make them sound right. And so when it comes down to the deadline, it's like, maybe you could sit in Cubase and edit forever. But just having the deadline, is a great way for somebody who's an artist to just like not, take the decision of being finished out of their own hands and into like, just like, well, now it's done. It's out. I told you I was going to put it out this day, so here it is. And that's kind of what happened with us. Even though we delayed the album like a month, we got it out, within the window that we wanted to. And that was, it felt gratifying for us that we like just got it to where it's close to perfect as it would ever get. Because, you can never get to perfect. But like as close to perfect as you could ever get. And then it's just out. And it's like really cathartic to just like have it out. And then it's out of your hands. You know what I mean?
All right, my friend Cody here has a question.
Out of pure curiosity, is there any particular video game soundtrack that you would like to one day do? The music from that game?
Just like to cover it? Or
So like to cover?
Yeah, to cover, yeah.
For sake of sounding redundant, Super Metroid, it's the greatest soundtrack I've ever heard. Thank you. Thank you.
It's very good.
Give it up for Super Metroid, a game that I obsess over.
That's one of you.
Oh, God.
Let's put you on the spot
that
here.
is simultaneously the best and worst question ever because there's so many different soundtracks.
What, like Breath of Fire?
Mother 3. Mother
Not
3
Breath
is
of
my
Fire.
answer.
Yeah.
Mother 3. Look at you. Yeah, Mother 3 right there. That's for Lucas.
Right now, I kind of want to cover Legend of Mana for the PlayStation, or anything from Final Fantasy IX, which is the best entry in the
Chrono Trigger
series.
would be a
Oh
good
my
one.
God, I could kiss you on the lips.
So, yeah, I guess or Chrono Trigger. I mean, I've done a Chrono Trigger cover already. It's really good. Yeah, I don't know. There's too many great soundtracks to choose from, really. But yeah, great question.
Hey, Smooth, how many times have you been asked that question?
Quite a few times.
Yeah. Well, this is Jeremy. He's got a question for you.
How you guys doing today?
Doing well.
Hey. By the way, I do a podcast called The Gamer Stand. You definitely check it out. But the thing about names, just like my show, our names have meanings. So your names, I would love to know what the meaning behind your name. Metroid, Mike, Don't Blink or You Die, Smooth. I'm sorry for Alex. That sounds a little Alex. I would love. I would just like to know what's the story behind the names. There has to be a pretty cool story, right?
So for us, our boy band is called Big Bad Bosses, right? And the reason we called it Big Bad Bosses was purely because we wanted to be able to call it, like, shorten it to B3, so that it sounds like,
B3 Jurassic Park.
Well, just it sounds like some sort of like boy band, like Boys to Men, O-Town, like something like that. We wanted to be able to have something that was like B3, and then it's like, we can be B-boys. Yeah.
Mine was, I mean, it's a simple. It's actually not way too cool. It's really simple. I sat and I was like, well, I need something that people can remember easy, and it was I need to be myself and make this thing. So it was literally like, I love Metroid. That's really what it came down to. I was like, oh yeah, and my name also starts with an M. Yeah, so I was like, okay, that works. Boop, boop.
For my name, Don't Blink or You'll Die, it is coincidentally, not intentionally, but coincidentally a Doctor Who reference. Yeah. I've actually never seen Doctor Who, I'm sorry.
I haven't either. It's all right.
No, the idea behind Don't Blink or You'll Die was kind of an innocent or very naive idea, but it's the idea is that you have like one life to live and you shouldn't take it for granted, and you should take every opportunity and possibility that comes your way
Getting real.
to better yourself as a person or as an artist, and just do the things that make you happy. And because if you don't, then it's just not, life just isn't as. Yeah, I'm sorry. This is getting really
Super
deep
real.
and real. I'm sorry, but that was kind of the idea behind it. It's just to
That's life.
Take moments in life and don't take it for granted, and just live your life to the fullest. And that was basically it.
I totally relate with this. I approached it in my own way, which is what birthed Smooth McGroove, because like I said before, you know, as a creator of original music and writing music, just because I was a fan of music, I always took it very seriously, and I wanted it to be great. You know, I wanted to write stuff that I was proud of, but my issue with that is I'm a perfectionist, so I'm so hard on myself. So before Smooth McGroove, totally. There's so many musicians I've talked to who have the same issues, and so my outlet for that was I was writing video game music for a project with some of my friends that we were kind of gathering a team for, and they were like, "Hey, you want to write some music for it?" And, you know, one of them was going to be like the character designer, and one of them was going to be the artist and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, cool, I get to write music for a video game. And so I started that, and the project eventually dissolved because our programmer basically didn't want to do it. But I had already been writing, and I was like, dude, this is fun. I'm like actually writing. And I realized I had this like epiphany where I was like, dude, music has to be fun for me. Or like I don't have any
there's no point in doing it if it's not fun.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. So I was like, all right, so I'm just going to start doing music just because it's fun. It doesn't even matter what comes out. So I was like, all right. So I was like in the shower, and I was like, dude, I'm like rapping a verse about like World of Warcraft and League of Legends, and I'm like, I'm going to record it. Okay, cool. So I went and turned on Cubase and like, you know, wrote this thing, and I was like, I'm having fun. I don't care if this is ridiculous. So that's what my channel started off as, is like me being a goober, just completely doing whatever I wanted. You know, acapella wasn't even a thought. But and Smooth McGroove, the name came out of that because I was like, well, my own name is just a name. So
I could see it in like neon lights on a building. Like,
yeah.
Smooth McGroove.
Well, it was like, I had so many iterations. I was like, I gotta write some like an alias that's silly, it's retarded. You know, just you know, something that's not like. Not serious. And I was like, groove, smooth, you know, all these things. I was like, dude, Smooth McGroove, that's really funny.
Oh, yeah.
And like my wife was like, yeah, that's good. And one of my friends cracked up, so I was like, that's what I'm going to be.
Yeah, nice.
So
Easy to
that's
remember.
how Smooth McGroove came about.
So my friend Josh here has a question, even though I've already forgotten his name twice. Sorry about that.
It's all good. So each of you seem to work within a fairly specific medium musically. What do you feel are your biggest challenges you face, like being boy band, chiptune, acapella, and, you know, how do you approach it?
I think for us, like, there's an element of like taking yourself, like, I don't know, like, I don't normally like try and get in touch with my like R&B, like hip hop roots, you know what I mean? But then I'm like dropping raps and stuff on this record, and it's hard to like try and do that for real. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I can do it. I have a history of performing on stage, doing like live comedy and stuff like that, like improv, and so it's easy to do stuff like that there because I have no problem committing to doing it. But it's just like it's a different story when like I need to like go into the studio and like it costs money to do that, and we got to like lay it down and like kick ass at it. You know what I mean? It's like really like hard to like rap about eggs seriously. You know what I mean?
And Nathan will give you this one too. It's the same thing we said. Like technology sometimes just sucks when it's old and you have to bring it into modern. Like we've modified it to where it's like essentially like we've modified the sound a little bit just to be a little bit more clean, and then put a light in it so you can see in like dark rooms. But other than that, it's still just the Game Boy. So it's like maybe your connectors are bad. Maybe the cart just decides that it doesn't want to work. The battery dies in the cartridge. And then, but like for a personal writing thing, it's like, it's really like I have to figure out something that sounds catchy and for fun. And what I write a lot of is like, I love dissonance in chords, like flat fives, major sevens, stuff like that. Like doing a run, and it's just like, and over here it's just overdoing the same thing, and it just sounds gross and then resolves in one big chord. I love doing that. So my melodies are like very repeating, and to me, because I'm a perfectionist like most musicians will be, is I was like, this sounds really annoying, but this is cool over here. And then because my song sounds different to me than it does to you, so that's probably my biggest thing, is just like learning to make it sound catchy without just sounding like a bunch of mud, but it somehow works out through happy accidents.
Yeah, I think as far as like writing music, for me at first it was really difficult and really frustrating because using the sound chips of old game consoles, you only have so much room to work with and only like so much customizable Like, there's only so much you can do technically.
Real creative.
You have to get really, but that's also like a blessing in disguise too, if you think about it. Like, you only have like 4 different for Little Sound DJ. You only have 4 different channels to work with, so it forces you to be in this creative mindset, and it forces you to get creative juices flowing. So yeah, I guess that's kind of how it was like starting out. Right now, I don't know. Can't really think of too much other than hardware.
Yeah,
hardware can be a pain sometimes.
Because Nathan's a great songwriter. I'll say that now in front of everyone.
Oh. So I'm sure you guys get asked a lot, how do I get started in doing what you guys do? And I don't want to ask you the same question because it's the same thing over and over. I'm going to turn it on its head. If I was getting started in making music or making a channel on YouTube or something like that, what is a pitfall that I wouldn't expect coming? What's something that you haven't expected that's been more difficult than you thought it would be?
That's a good one.
It costs a lot of money to promote an album effectively, like on the scale that we want to do it, right? Like we had to invest a lot of money into our album because it was such a, like I said, it's like a very studio heavy album, and so we really had a goal, like we needed to like spend this money and then make it back. And every time we do a video, it's like animated or it's not animated. And originally our I'm the Boss music video was supposed to be completely live action, but the budget just dictated that like, well, that's not going to happen. But it still costs like a couple $1,000s to like have some animators like make like a 5-minute cartoon for you. And so that's the thing that it's like, wow, like if you're not going to do it yourself, if you're not going to like do everything on your own, and take a long time, like you really need to like figure out how you're going to, the business side of it is like really quite an undertaking.
Yeah, I would say, like, kind of echoing Alex's statement, as far as chiptune goes, I mean, it's, for the most part, it's not really, like expensive of a thing to get into.
No, it's not expensive. It's just, like,
it's a little bit, not really expensive, but, I mean, it'll to get, like,
time-consuming.
It's a little time-consuming, and it's a little... it's time-consuming learning all the trackers and learning the software, and also learning to mod your own system if you really want to go down that route and not pay like,
plus you have
80
to
or
like
$90 for someone to mod it for you.
It's also the idea of like when you see like me or Nathan perform, it's like a polished, finished thing. You didn't see like the 6 months of like this like 3-line thing that's been taking forever. And then plus you have to like be interesting, like you can't because I've gotten the whole thing of like, oh, you go up and press play. Like, I've gotten that, and it's just like, yeah, but I've also been writing this song forever, and I physically had to go in and change wave formats.
Those are the same people that'll never know
exactly
what a tracker is.
Yeah, exactly. So it's that kind of stuff, and you have to. It's the idea of like you have to perform as something that's like. Because it's really, you can't just go up and press play and then stand there like you don't know what you're doing. Like, Nathan, like, I'm a big dude. And when I'm performing my songs and I have room to move, I've put a wireless rig in my Game Boy and gotten on top of a bar just to stand on a bar and kick stuff. Like, I've done that. I've, like, run around on a stage. I've, like, gotten into crowds and been performing while jumping around with people. And I'm over 300 pounds because that's safe. And Nathan's a great performer, like always looks interesting. Like you just Smash tournament, people were just like, what's he doing? And it's that kind of stuff. And so I'd summarize like hard work is the thing. It's like you have to work, but the work is fun, but you have to work is the biggest pitfall, I'd say.
Smooth, unexpected pitfalls.
The real unexpected pitfalls, I think, are mental. Like these guys, especially these guys talking about, because when you're like a musician or any type of creator, on YouTube especially, it probably even applies to things like SoundCloud and what I started off on Bandcamp. Like you have to. Okay, so you're a producer, right? You're making something. You're writing chiptune music with these trackers, and you're putting your all into it, or you're like me, you're singing the different tracks of these chiptunes from like the 80s and 90s. So to us, it's really interesting already because we're into it. But to put it out there and to get people to listen to it. So, like for me with Bandcamp, there was no visual element except for the background and the colors I chose for my page. So it wasn't getting much traffic. And then the reason why I ended up starting on YouTube was because I realized the visual element is so important to people. Because there's a lot of people who are into music, but there are a lot more people who are into music when they see something going along with it. And for me, I was like, well, okay. So I wasn't writing acapellas yet, so I made music videos. You know, I had one of my friends, you know, film me doing stupid stuff and brightly colored clothes. And, you know, that was fun. Or, you know, like, oh, I made a song about Minecraft. Well, let's take it, you know, let's film in Minecraft and let's make a little thing. And for me, it settled on, you know, I was like, well, I made an a cappella song of Zelda's Lullaby from, you know, Ocarina of Time. What can I do? Okay, I'll put my faces for all the different tracks, you know, and I'll just, you know, have them singing. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. So for me, as a producer, that works really well because it's direct. It's exactly what you see is what you get. And I think for a lot of content creators, we tend to overthink things. We tend to think, what will they like? Oh, what would they like? But the thing is, it really comes down to like, what would you want to watch? What would you want to listen to? What are you into?
Yeah,
because that's going to come through no matter what you do. Whether you do music or whether you do comedy or whether you do anything, you have to be doing what you want to do because it's just going to come out so much better. And you know, you'll be frustrated for a while if things aren't flowing, but they will eventually flow if you allow yourself to be you and just do what you like. Because then what you actually are creating is going to come out 100% instead of 80% and then 20% of what you think other people are going to like. So, you know, for a YouTube content creator, just do that. Be yourself.
I love it. So this is Kason. Kason has a question for you.
Do it, Kason.
Smooth. I know you worked on a cartoon with Oni. I was wondering if you ever plan to do any other cartoons or like in the future, or have you ever?
Now, the question was about cartoons?
Yeah. He's asking, you've already done one. Have you planned on doing more, or do you ever plan on doing more?
As far as cartoons, I thought about it. I mean, I grew up watching cartoons. I thought about, you know, like the Saturday morning cartoons and the stuff I watched, you know, getting home from school, Tiny Toons, Animaniacs, and stuff like that. They have a lot of great themes, so I haven't branched out yet into that kind of stuff, man. Like cartoons, anime theme songs, you know, movie soundtracks. I mean, there's a lot of good music out there. So I think once I, you know, finish getting my fix doing video game stuff, you'll probably see me do more of that.
So does what you're doing right now have the potential to bring up something new for you guys?
I mean, always, you know, definitely. That's the number one question that we get asked about Big Bad Bosses is like, when's the next album? And it's like, well, okay, we just finished this one, but like, I mean, it's always encouraging to throw yourself out there and get a good response.
Yeah.
And I think that in the end, that's really the motivating factor on, you know, and whether or not I'm having fun doing it. I think that's the two main things, because the audience can smell when you're doing something for a paycheck or you're phoning it in or you're half-assing it.
Yeah.
So that's my thought on it.
What else? Cartoons, maybe branching out into some voice acting, anything like that for you guys?
I think voice acting would be fun to do.
I know.
I can talk.
I'm probably going to do music for the rest of my life.
Okay.
Just straight up. I'm going to probably do chiptune until the day I die, because that's how much I love it.
It's a part of you.
But at the same time, I plan to add live instrumentation and bring it more to like a garage rock with Game Boys playing like the full band sort of setup.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's going to be, I don't know when that'll be, but it'll be sometime soon. Once I get better at guitar.
That's right.
Nathan and I have talked about that. It's a super fun idea.
Well, this is Reese. What's your question, Reese?
So my question is, we've seen when, like during the 80s and 90s, when all of this technology was being developed, these sounds were created mainly just from the limitations of the hardware at the time. You had to be really creative, and as such, you know, there was different implementations on different systems. So you had like these all unique sounds, and different chipsets, you know, these just different sounds altogether and different feels to them totally. you guys have talked a lot about the Super Nintendo and Game Boy as far as unique sounds and some of the most influential soundtracks. So you were saying like Super Metroid, awesome soundtrack. For me, it's Earthbound. I really like, especially all the
really good one.
As I say, especially all the sampling that goes on in Earthbound, sort of unique at the time as far as in video games. Barring Nintendo, what has been really influential as far as other systems at the time that have really had an impact on your music and found really interesting as far as unique sounds go?
The Yamaha, I think it's the YM2612 sound chip for the Sega Mega Drive / Genesis.
It's really good.
Is awesome.
Sick funk bass.
Yes.
Sick funk bass on
yeah,
there.
absolutely. It's a really awesome sound chip. One of my favorite soundtracks from that game or from that generation was and is, of course, like everything from Sonic Hedgehog 1, 2, 3, Knuckles. Shining Force 2 also is amazing.
Yeah.
Dude, yes. That's
And nobody ever seems to talk about it. I'm just like, you guys need to listen to the soundtrack.
Good.
It's so good.
Yes. If you haven't heard, you don't even have to play it. Just go listen to the music.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Since I don't listen, surprisingly, I don't listen to a crazy amount of electronic music other than some chiptune artists and stuff like that. But if something in technology really inspired me, they used, I think it was on Downward Spiral, like 9 Inch Nails Downward Spiral, they used a Commodore 64 for some bass, that sound chip for a lot of bass stuff. Like a lot of that, like that stuff. So I love that sound, and if you listen to my stuff, I get I'm low octave and all, so it's really crunchy stuff like that, but Commodore, and then just a lot of just real instruments and try to make it sound like real stuff.
I'm a Sega boy, born and raised. That's why I'm Dr. Robotnik or Dr. Eggman or whatever I am, Ronick in Big Bad Bosses, is just as a tribute to the fact that I love that weird metal guitar fart sound that is the Sega Genesis. Yeah, love that.
So it's obvious that you guys like music.
Yeah.
A little bit. I mean, it's all right.
It's all right.
Yeah, it's whatever.
So what are you into right now? What artists or genres are really appealing to you at the moment?
Also, again, simultaneously best and worst question ever.
Yeah.
Come back to me. I need to think about this for a little bit.
What's your favorite band?
Okay, I can. I'll just keep talking.
Yes.
For
Continue.
me, I will be buried with a copy of Coheed and Cambria's and Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3. I'll be buried with that album. Thank you. That and Mastodon. I'm way into Mastodon.
Dude, Mastodon.
They're sick.
Mastodon rules.
Crack the Sky and like Remission. Just I love that stuff. So it's a lot of that, a lot of progressive stuff. Rush, like 2112 Overture will I'll listen to that every day of my life.
I play in a non-video game band in LA where I live, and the scene out there right now is very much 70s inspired, sort of crusty punk rock. And I've been listening to a lot of that. I've been listening to a lot of Fiddlar and Audacity and just a bunch of those cool new punk bands that are kind of giving a little jolt in the arm to that genre right now. I really recommend all those. I'm trying to think of one more to tell you. Harlem, just a bunch of great bands. King Tough, just go check them out.
Oh, dude, King Tough is awesome. Yeah. For me, I listen to, as far as this is kind of going back to my influences also, and also what I'm listening to now. What I'm listening to now, right? I'm listening to a lot of Japanese pop and rock. So the band on my shirt, actually, you can't really see it, but it's a band called Trico from Japan. They're a Japanese math rock band, and they're sick. I got to see them play in Denton, Texas a while back, and they were incredible. They were absolutely incredible. Their songs are amazing. But I'd say Trico, Mass of the Fermenting Dregs. There's and kind of more on the pop side of things. Ryuichi Sakamoto and Yellow Magic Orchestra is really, really influential. Hiroshi Sato, I just got into his stuff, is really, really good. So that's kind of what I've been listening to a little bit lately. Yeah, hope that answers the question.
My musical taste is pretty eclectic. I mean, yesterday on the way to the medieval fair in Norman, I had Earth AD by the Misfits in. I
Thank
just love that.
God.
It's just, like, yes.
Yeah.
So, like, that type of stuff. But on the way here, I had, like, Magical Mystery Tour by the Beatles playing. So
Classics.
I dig it all, as far as video games go, in the past 6 months to 8 months, the most inspiring thing that I've come across, and it's been talked about to death on the internet, but is the entire Undertale soundtrack.
Yeah.
And it's
real
related
good.
to videos I've been posting, but the reason being is because that guy, he wrote that entire soundtrack as a fan of video game music. Like, he used Earthbound sound fonts and all these there's Chrono Trigger sound fonts in there. I mean, it's just, the entire soundtrack is just like a journey through almost the history of video game music, up to
Absolutely.
even to like
Super
modern day, like, much more modern sounding strings, but then you have the old school sounding stuff. So that's been a lot of fun lately.
All right.
What's your favorite food?
What's your favorite food?
Pizza. Is that what you wanted? Okay.
Oh, God.
I like chicken wings. I like burgers.
Ramen. And I'm talking like,
The
there's
real
this
deal.
there's this awesome restaurant called Tamashi Ramen on Hudson and 8th. Awesome. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Awesome. No, they have like the best ramen ever. So go there if you haven't gone there before.
I've been eating a lot of ramen as well. Yeah. But I've been trying to like experiment on my own, like make my own, like from the. I found a really good brand because I used to think ramen was like the Maruchan stuff from the grocery
College.
store.
Right. Yeah.
But then I
So
discovered,
much more.
oh my gosh, real ramen isn't like
It's got like a
fried
little smiley
noodles.
face on it. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, it's like there's the real stuff, and then you can you add egg and meat and vegetables and garlic and pepper. So yeah, I've been doing that. So ramen's great.
Music icons talking about garlic and pepper. I love it. So apparently a lot of people like Undertale. That's a good thing. People like, apparently.
Yeah.
When you said it, at least. Yeah. All right. Good.
That's what we were looking for.
Yeah.
So you said that's been really influential lately. Do you have a plan to do more along those lines?
My problem is that I get laser focused, and anytime I find a game that I really like, I want to do the entire soundtrack.
Okay.
Like, my channel started off, with the acapellas as Zelda Ocarina of Time, because that was what I was listening to a lot at the time, and I think I did like 8 or 10 Zelda Ocarina of Time songs in like 2 months. So yeah, as far as Undertale goes, I want to do all the boss themes because they're amazing. A few of them are going to be really challenging, and that's been kind of the other side of it that I've been looking at. Like, but it reminds me a lot of like whenever I took on One Winged Angel. Like you have a project in front of you that you love, but it's going to take so much of your life energy just to like make it happen. So themes like Hopes and Dreams and Save the World from Undertale and like Ascor, like if I do those, it's probably going to be longer than a week, and I'm like, the deadline part of me is like, but I want to do it anyways. So yeah, I have plans.
All right. I think we have time for one more question. So what's your name?
Angela.
Angela, what's your question?
This goes to Smooth here. I was actually wondering if you were considering doing a collaboration with other musically based YouTubers as well.
Yes.
Are you looking at you seriously?
I think I love the idea of collaborating, and it's so exciting because I grew up playing in bands, man. Like in high school and middle school, I was like the drummer, and I played with musicians, and it feels great to make music together. But when I started making music on YouTube, it's quite a different feeling to make music with people not in the same room. Like whenever you're emailing back and forth tracks, or discussing it over Skype or something like that, it feels so different. And even if you're friends with the person, it doesn't have the same thing that I'm used to. Again, so there are a lot of musicians that I want to work with, and I even have been in talks with a few musicians, vocalists for a few years now. But because of the awkward, by email or by Skype, and mixed with the fact that this is my issue, I'm very introverted. I tend to hermit up, and I'll turn off Skype, I'll turn off Facebook, I won't even check Twitter for a week. That doesn't help. But yeah, I would like to do more of that in the future.
Yo, real talk, that Game Chops album is freaking sweet, though.
Yeah, it's really good.
So, Alex, I'm going to spin that question to you, too, because you do stuff in a band. So you're collaborating with other guys all the time.
Constantly.
So how about branching out to other genres?
Okay, well, I mean, it's tough, right? Like, in the YouTube side of things, right? Like, we were talking about, like, how we wanted to do like a follow-up to our album, and we thought that maybe like a good way to kind of like keep the hype going would be to like kind of record like an alternate album. And like actually, if you buy the actual physical copy of the album, there's a version on the the physical version that's called the alternate reality mix of one of the songs, Princess. And what we did was we were like, okay, like boy bands are the idea for the album, but what if we like actually took these songs and sort of like adapted them to other types of music where it's like a group of dudes. So like we did like a 70s sort of like disco track version of our song, and we thought like, what if we did like a Beach Boys song, or what if we did like, like the Rat Pack or Blink 182, or like any kind of band that's like based around like being like a couple dudes doing something simple. And so yeah, like all of us can play like luckily like all of us are also capable of playing instruments, even though we did a boy band thing which was very much like digital, and we leaned a lot on Jake, who's like literally a wizard. He's like literally a music wizard. Like I don't know if you ever played Shovel Knight or Shantae or Contra 4 or any of the Switch Force games, or he was the one who did the Moon music for the new DuckTales game. Like he is a master composer, and he just like turns off his mind and can just like lay down sick bass tracks with his eyes closed. But if we did some of these other things, it might be fun to just like try and play him straight in a band for real as a group. And so that's something we've been talking about. I don't know if we're going to actually do it or what the plan is for the future of the album, just because it's been such a crazy, crazy trip already. But like if we jump back into the studio, I think that's probably what we would do.
All right, thank you, guys. I think that's all we have time for. Do you have any last things to say to our audience before we let you go?
Thank you for your interest in music, because I feel like it's sort of like the sort of like last sort of straggler of like this community of like getting like a very big like open following. I feel like a lot of people feel like there's some sort of barrier between them and music, and it really isn't that hard to like learn how to do it. Like there is definitely a wall at the beginning, even if it's just as a hobby, just to learn about it. But like if you just take that leap and you give yourself a little bit of time and go through that hard work a little bit, I think that like you'll find that it's a very, very like lucrative just sort of art form. And I think that the more people who educate themselves about doing music, the better the entire community is going to be. So please, if you have interest in this, pursue it.
Do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Plus, it's with the local scene. It's, everyone's, and with the people who are trying to learn it, it's like, yeah, it's fun to go see big bands, and we all do it. Go see like a big band's fun. It would be fun to go see Rush. It'd be fun to go see Mastodon and all that stuff. But it's like, that those like four guys in like a small band playing at a bar, and they have like their CD burned on staple CDs. Really, like even if it's 5 people, like they will play the crap out of their instruments for 5 people, and I do that mentality as well. So it's like if you're there just watching, it's like if you're there and interacting, it's fun.
Rush and Mastodon have were undoubtedly at that same exact point at some point in their lives.
Exactly.
So yeah, support your local artists.
Yeah,
support
for
local
real.
music.
A local, like find just like there's probably live music like tonight in like 8, especially Oklahoma City. Go in Bricktown on the weekend. There's like 8 different bands playing. I used to be like one of those 8 bands. So.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much. Thanks all of you guys for coming to the panel.
Thank you.
Super BitCon 2016 is open for another half an hour. All of our vendors are still open. I think they might have already done the charity bazaar drawing, so go check and see if you won anything there. Thank you guys very much again. Thank all of you for being here.